Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to my space. Welcome to episode 22 of Practicality and Magic. Oh, goodness gracious. I got to turn that down. And how are you guys today? Let's see. How are you guys doing today? It's a gorgeous Wednesday. It's hump day, right? It's hump day. And oh, hi, Shirley. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I've got to make sure that I've got this on my page. Ooh, so where do I want? No, sorry. Oh my gosh, you guys. So I just have to let you know. I just did some block therapy and wowza. I am so blissed out. I feel so incredible and just so I just feel so good. I just feel so grounded and peaceful, and it's perfect time for me to come and pull some cards and let's have some conversation. And so if you are wanting a card, join me, and say hello and let me know that you're here and that you want a card, because I would love to pull a card for you. So before we get to all of that fun though, however, we're here to talk about some very practical things that create magic, because that's what I'm all about. Oh, I got some hair stuff going on here, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. Whatever. It just is. But I love practicality and magic because if we we can't have one without the other. We we need to be fully grounded, which is the very practical stuff, in order to be in the magic, right? In order to be connected to our higher self and to that spiritual realm and all of the things. And we forget that. We need the human part of us to really accentuate, or whatever you want to call it, that spiritual part of us. We need the human and the spiritual. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn how to be human beings, right? We're not humans here learning how to be spiritual beings. It's the opposite. We're spiritual beings here learning how to be humans. And that's kind of a tricky thing. And it's often easy for us to forgo one for the other. We get really in the human and we forget about that spiritual aspect, or we get too in the spiritual and forget about the need to be really grounded. It's really easy to be up in the ethers and to be up there in those spiritual realms and working in that realm, and then forget that we've really got to be grounded. And like, honestly, that's one of the things that I love about block therapy, because I can go so deeply into that spiritual realm, but I'm so grounded, like more grounded than I've ever been. And so I love that. But that's why I call my one of my shows Practicality and Magic, because they go hand in hand, and you don't want one without the other. They really do enhance each other, build on each other, and both are essential. And so everything that I do involves magic and practicality. And that's how I feel like we reach our best self, how we are our best self, how we do all of this to the best of our ability, and how we're much more effective. So I want to talk about patterns, because we came out at we had the new moon. Let's see what the date was, because I forget. We had the new moon on the 29th of March, I believe. Is that right? I think it was. Anyway, I believe it was the 29th of March. And so it's been like a week and a half. We had the new moon, plus we had the um, partial solar eclipse. Now, this was the second eclipse of the month of March, which was pretty crazy. I mean, eclipses have a lot of energy, and there's a lot that they want to show us and that they want to bring. And when they're in conjunction with a moon, it's like really up. So it's been a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And, you know, we still might even be feeling some of the energy of the eclipse. You know, those when they're strong like that, the energy sticks around for a while. But I wanted to share that on the Friday. So the day before that new moon and partial solar eclipse, I was in my wellness tub. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. We have a hot tub. I don't call it a hot tub, I call it a wellness tub because we don't use any chemicals. We use enzymes that keep the water clean and keep it pure without any of the chemicals. So I love it because I can go in there and enjoy it and not have any negative side effects. I really can't soak in pools and tubs and stuff like that, normal hot tubs, because of all of the chemicals and the chlorine and things like that. I have really strong reactions to those. So this is my wellness tub. So I love to sit in the wellness tub in the morning. At this certain time, the sun comes as it's coming up, it comes right over. Like I have this pine tree in my yard, and that's right in line with the tub, and the sun comes up over, and it's just heaven. Being in that really nice, warm, hot water with that warm sun beating down, and I'm doing so much good for my body. I'm soaking in my beautiful clean salts, and I'm getting direct sunlight, which is so important and so wonderful. Anyway, I was in there, and I was sitting there and I was just soaking it all in. And I had this moment where I'm just like, oh, like I am so joyful. Like every inch of me was filled with joy, and I was filled with absolute contentment. And I felt so good, like deep joy, deep contentment, deep good, like so good. And I knew it and I felt it. And it felt so fantastic. And I was like trying to relax into it and revel in it. And then my brain goes, but that can't be. You can't be joyful. You can't be content. You can't be happy because this isn't what you want yet. This isn't what you want yet. This isn't it. Was listing all of these things that are not yet the way that I want. And these are things like physically, there are things like emotionally, there's, things like issues with relationships and or whatever's going on in my life, right? Things that I want to be a little better or whatever. And my brain immediately came in and was like, yeah, you can't be. You think you're joyful, but I got news for you, lady, you're not. And I was just like, whoa, it just kind of took me back. And so then when I cut over the shock of like what my brain was doing, I realized like just how powerful these patterns that we have are, right? These stories, these patterns, these things that you know, just kind of take root and come up automatically, right? So Shirley says, sounds so lovely. Thank you. It really is. And then, oh wow, me too. Stupid brain. Yeah, it's just crazy how this happens. And so I sat there for a moment and I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. And what I really wanted to do was I wanted to quiet all of that brain telling me that this isn't possible, right? For all of the reasons. And I wanted to just sit and feel if it was still there, if what I had been feeling stayed. And you know what? It did. it was still there. Now, had I not taken a moment to acknowledge those thoughts and acknowledge that pattern in that story that was up and playing over and over on loop, if I wouldn't have taken the moment to, the breath to acknowledge it and say, I get it, you know, but we're doing it a different way now. Or, that's what I said to myself in that moment. You can say all sorts of things to yourself to remind you of who you are, where you are, and what you want, right? Because that's really what we need to do. But I went back to it. I went back to the feeling, and oh my God, it was still there. And it might have even been a little bit stronger, which I loved. I loved that. And so why I'm sharing this and what I loved about it is I believe that when that pattern comes in and it's speaking to us and it's controlling us and it's got a lot to say, right? And it believes that it's worthy. It believes it has reason to remind us of all these patterns and all of these things that are going on. It really does believe that it is justified. And so it doesn't really work. It's not really effective to go, yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Go away. I don't want to think that. That doesn't really quiet it. That might quiet it for a moment, but that doesn't really do anything to move it out of this current plane. What does work, however, is when we come to it when we have a ready answer or when we come to it with a fact. And so what I did is I told my brain, once I went back in and realized that I was very, very joyful. I was very, very content. I felt fantastic. And like I said, after the pattern came in and I went back and checked, I think it was even more. Like I felt even more joyful and even more content and even more embodied and present. And so then I said, you know what? That may have been how I thought in the past, but now I know that that's not true. It's just simply not true. I don't need to have all of these things crossed off my list in order to be in joy. I don't need to have all of these things accomplished before I can feel content. I don't need to have my to do list done before I can feel fully present and joyful in the moment. And that was a huge aha to me for a few things. First of all, it was wonderful to know that I could still have this to do list because let me tell you, my brain reminded me of every single thing on that list. Oh no, you can't feel joyful because this and this and this and this. And it was just rattling them off. And I'm like, whoa, it took me by surprise for a moment. But when I was able to just take a breath, press pause, and really get centered, I realized that that's the job of my brain is to remind me of these patterns that were created to keep me safe, right? That's why we have patterns. Our patterns are there because at one time in our life, we created them to help us feel safe, right? So if I'm focusing on these things on my to do list, that feels like control. I'm taking action towards these things. Yes, now, depending on how I'm doing it, right, it can be control and it can feel really good if it's simply a matter of, oh, I haven't accomplished these things yet, so I can't be happy until I'm this. I can't be this until, I can't be happy until this is accomplished. All those things, because that's really what we tell ourselves, right? The happy, the joy, the content will be on this side of everything being accomplished. But that's the opposite. What we want to remind ourselves is, oh, when I'm happy, this will happen, right? This over here, the to do list, is a natural um, side effect or consequence of the joy, right? So all these things that are on the list, they come from the joy. They come from the content. They come from the complete embodied joy. right? And so we want to remind ourselves of that, that that's where the control is. The control is in allowing ourselves to feel joyful, even though we're living a really imperfect life, right? I mean, I have a really incredible life. I really do. And what I love about that is that I can say that today with absolute clarity, absolute surety, absolute belief, 1,000%, even though a bunch of my life is a mess. It's just the truth of it. There's a lot of things that, a lot of things I'm working through. We all are. We're all there. We're human. That's what it's about. We're not robots. We're not machines. We're here to have a messy experience and to be able to find the joy in it, right? And this is where I want to talk about advocacy. So a memory came up on my um oh, and then Shirley, hi. Yes, I would love to pull a card for you. So if anyone else is here and wants to pull a card, let me know. Just comment here. And Shirley, I appreciate your comments. It makes me feel like I'm not just, talking out into the ethers. I appreciate it. Um, but on my memories today that came up was 10 years. Oh my gosh. 10 years of my husband with his second encounter with blood clots. And this one 10 years ago happened to be all throughout his lungs. Started in his legs. He still had one in his right leg, I believe, and then moved up. And he had so many in his lungs that it was astounding. But to make a really long, involved story short, I remembered it. I mean, it was on my memory. And so I kind of have been reliving it a little today. But the thing that came to me was what I wrote about was the nurses at the hospital were not helpful at all and were downright rude and, you know, totally inappropriate. We're there. They've told us that my husband might not even come out of it. Like there was a procedure they were going to do that was so tedious and painful and risky, and it might not work. And he might have other effects from that procedure that would not be good. He may not even make it through it. We're just like stunned, like what? And then they're rude. So, like, huh. But really, I had to be the advocate for my husband because when we got to the ER, he didn't present normally. And even though I kept trying to tell the doctor, look, his blood pressure looks normal, his EKG looks normal, heart rate looks normal, for him, it's high. Like, I've been married to him for a long time. At that point, it was 23 years. Like, I knew my husband and I knew that while it might look normal, it wasn't for him. And I pushed and pushed and pushed, and the doctor was really upset with me. But she finally relented to do the CAT scan, even though there were no telltale signs. And she's literally told me, I am putting in his chart that you are insisting on this and that I am insisting not to. And so once we do this CAT scan and it shows everything is normal, you'll be responsible for it, not the insurance. I said, go for it. I'm here for it. I'm willing to take that bet, so to speak. And then, when the CAT scan was done, before they brought my husband back, she came in and she said, oh my God, like, I'm so glad we listened to you because his lungs are full of blood clots and he did not present. And I said, no shit. I tried to tell you, tried and tried. But my point with this is it brought up the idea of advocacy for me and how how grateful I am that I was there for my husband and was able to be his advocate and push, even though, the doctor was thinking I was crazy. And most people don't push back against doctors because we hold them to a really high standard and we forget that they are human, right? They're human just like the rest of us. And so, but it brought me to the point of we have to be advocates for ourselves. And what I mean by this is we have to be willing to be advocates for ourselves in life so that we know what we need emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Nobody else is going to do it. So we have to protect ourselves. We have to um, be our own advocate in all the ways, right? And so, like, really what this came to me today was peace. Like, we have to be advocates of our peace, where we have it, where we find it, how we keep it, all of it, right? And this reminded me of in 2020, I was, it was like June, early July of 2020, and I was having a really hard time. My house had gone from a place of peace pre-pandemic to a place of chaos, and it's just an interesting time. We were figuring out how to peacefully coexist within the realm of being in lockdown as a group of people, and it was a challenge. My daughter, who had been living on her own for quite a while, moved back in right before we went into lockdown. We didn't know we were going into it. She moved in just for what we thought was going to be a few days, um, and ended up being, you know, a year and a half or whatever. And anyway, so I was praying for peace. Like, how can I get peace? How can I get peace? And I kept being shown this middle road, like this road, and that I needed to be in the middle. And in all the ways, like in all the ways, I needed to be in the middle, where I stopped defining things as good or bad, and I stopped saying this is how it needs to be and this is how it doesn't need to be. That's where peace lied. Where peace lies. That's what my spiritual team kept showing me. This is where peace lies, is in this middle way. And until you get in the middle, and until you do your best to live in the middle as much as you can, peace is going to be elusive. And so I started doing it, and I found that it worked really well. And for me, it was where I found peace. And this is where I find peace even today. I try to do my best to walk that middle way. So, what I mean by that is, let's say in my house, I have things that I want done a certain way. I have a friend who used to say that he came to stay with us one summer for about a month while he was working in Salt Lake. And he's like, "Girl, you run a tight ship." And like, I was kind of offended at first. And he's like, "Oh, no, no, it's good. Like, you want your house a certain way." And as an empath, as a sensitive, um, you know, I do want things a certain way. That making sure that my physical surroundings are the way that I want is really important for my emotional health, my energetic health, because if it's not, then it doesn't feel like, not OCD. It's not that. It's just, I like clutter cleared. I don't like a mess all around. And I get cluttered from time to time. It just happens, but for the most part. So anyway, but I started deciding, like, okay, somebody didn't do this with a dish or something. Okay, is it really like bad? Can I live with it? Or do I have to make a mountain out of a molehill? And I started realizing, oh, I don't have to do that. Like, that's not going to serve me. So I'd come to the middle. And Shirley says, oh, this is perfect stuff I need to hear today. Oh, I'm so glad, Shirley. Thank you. If you want to elaborate on that, I'd love to, hear what you have to say. But so I started just working with different areas of my life. And one of the things that I found, so I did this with, like, in my home, I did it with relationships. Like, could I possibly, um, be in a situation where somebody did something that initially I was offended by or that I didn't like? And could I just really get to the middle and be like, you know, can I just let it be neutral? Like, not be offended by it or not be like elated by it, but be neutral. And I took this from everything from the things in my house, my relationships, work, things that I saw online. And it just happened to be election season. And so they really showed me that this would really help me if I got to the middle of election season. And instead of having this is right, this is wrong, if I could just come to the middle and see that maybe there was a big area of gray, right, where I could be. And it worked so beautifully. And but the interesting thing is that what I noticed then And what I notice now is that people don't like that. It's so interesting to me. When people want to talk to me about things, like whether it's politics or, current events or entertainment stuff, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I just really don't, I don't go there. I don't really go there. They're like, what? What do you mean you don't go there? And it's like first of all, they cannot understand it. It doesn't make sense to them. And then it's almost like they're a little offended that I'm not picking a side, because that is what we are taught from the beginning of our lives is, where are you? Are you this or are you this? Which do you like? Do you like this or do you like this? Everything is polarizing, right? And we don't need to get into the why are we like, why are we conditioned that way to choose one or the other, A or B, right? There's not three, there's not four, there's not 10, there's two. And it's always that way. And so we don't, like I said, and I don't want to get into why, because that's not the middle way. I just know that I don't want to be on one or A or B. I want to be in between A and B, or in between A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. I want to be in the middle where yeah, I know where I land. I know how I feel about certain things, but I also know that choosing a side doesn't bring me peace. Okay. That's the bottom line. It doesn't bring me peace, and people are uncomfortable with that. And so, a couple times when I've had conversations and people are not comfortable with me not being one side or the other, they don't know what to do with it. Like I said, it's like, huh? Who are you? What are you talking about? You have to be on one side or the other. Like, pick a side. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. And a couple of times when I've been having those conversations, I've almost been pulled in. And a couple of times I have been pulled back in because, like, I don't want to get into anything with them either. But what that's done is taken my peace. When I get pulled over to a side, my peace is gone. It's non existent. And it's the opposite of what I want. And it's the opposite of what I asked for. Don't forget that this all started because I was praying for peace. Like, all I want is peace. I just want to get to a space of peace. How do I do that? And this was the answer: come to the middle. So don't let people take your peace. You've got to be the advocate. Nobody can take it from you. I shared something because after I was thinking about this today, of course, I saw something on my Instagram feed about not letting somebody take your peace. And I said, you need to guard it as if your health and your life depend on it. And it does. We have to guard our peace. We have to be the advocate of our peace within ourselves. Nobody else is going to do that for us. It's not anybody else's job. And nobody can make us feel unpeaceful or not peaceful, whatever you say. We are the only ones who can do that. We allow that to happen. Nobody can take it from us. Nobody can make us mad. Nobody can take our peace. Nobody can make us feel unworthy. We allow it. Nobody can do that for us, right? And so this is my call to action for all of us today is guard your peace. Guard your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, and your spiritual health that is grounded in peace. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Your health depends on it. So guard it, guard it, guard it. And let's see what Shirley says. Thank you, Shirley. Staying in the middle, allowing people to be them. Let them. Exactly. I mean, what is it? There was some controversy about it. I don't even know because I don't read any of that stuff anymore. But Mel Robbins said, like, didn't she come out with a book or something called Let Them? And it's like, people are going to do what they are going to do. So just let them and wish them well on their path, right? And Shirley says, I have a friend who insists that I go there. Isn't it crazy, Shirley? I'm so happy that you shared that. Thank you, because I am just like, some days I'm dumbfounded, like, you're not okay with me being in the middle? Huh? Like, why? Like, what does it, how does that affect you in a not peaceful way because I won't go there. And like I said, the interesting thing is it's not that it isn't even that they're upset that I'm not on taking their side, but it's that I'm not taking any side. This idea of being in the middle and being neutral is foreign and it's scary. It feels out of control for a lot of people. And I understand it because it did for me too. Like the first thing that I said to my, to God and my spiritual team when they brought this to my attention was, oh my God, if I'm not that, who am I? Like I'd built such a foundation that was grounded in that one side or the other that I didn't know who I was going to be. And it was scary as hell. I mean, it was scary and it was awful. But now that I'm through that, oh my God, I feel so much peace. And I'm not dragged into it at all. And I love it. So, yeah. And Shirley says, we have a federal election later this month. Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. Opposite directions. And it is just the way that it goes, which I remind myself to be curious about where it will end up. Guard my peace. Yes. And that's the thing. Be curious. Like, isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? That's what I keep telling myself when I see stuff on Facebook or on Instagram or wherever. And I'm like, and it's like one side or the other, isn't that interesting? And I just go, wow, that's so interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Isn't that interesting? And it's such a much better thing than the finger pointing, the shaming and the blaming and the virtue signaling. That does nothing to bring peace, not only to ourselves, but to our world. Remember that, people. All of this blaming and shaming and virtue signaling does absolutely zero to bring peace to you or the world. And a lot of the blaming and shaming and virtue signaling is claiming to be about wanting peace. It's the opposite. Can't be. So think about it. Guard your peace. Yes, guard your peace. And Shirley says, I've told her many times I'm not going to. And I assume this is about the friend who insisted I go there. Good for you. Good for you. She still tries, and it just makes me laugh. I love that because that's me too. I just laugh, I just laugh. And the other thing that we want to remember, people, is that the spiritual law says that whatever we resist persists. So if we are resisting something, it's just going to come more. And whatever we give time and attention to grows. So just know that and be aware of that. And maybe, think about that the next time that you're really railing on one side or the other against the other side. Whatever you're resisting, it's going to persist and you're going to make it grow. Don't give it time and attention. If you've got weeds in your garden and you don't want weeds, you certainly don't want to water them and you don't want to feed them. You don't want to nourish them. You want to pull them out and get rid of them. Same thing here. Okay, so Shirley, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a card for all of us in the collective so that we can, one thing that I didn't say. To tie this all back into the patterns is we want to do the same thing with the patterns. If we can get in the middle road with the patterns and not be so judgmental of ourselves with them when they show back up. So that day when I was in my wellness tub and I'm feeling so joyful and content and peaceful, and all of a sudden my pattern shows up and goes, oh, but this and this and this and this and this and this. If I would have gone, oh my God, I cannot believe that this pattern is back and it's so loud and I haven't worked as hard as I thought, or blah, 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 whatever little message story that my brain wants to play, that's not going to help. That's going to make the pattern bigger. But because I took a breath, I took a pause, I went back within and found that I still was as joyful and as feeling as good as I was before, that helped the pattern to dissipate. It helped it to move and keep moving. That's what it wants to do. The pattern wants to move. We want the pattern to move. We don't want the pattern to be stagnant and stuck and causing issues. Okay? So get to the middle. Oh, isn't that interesting? I thought this, I was relaxing into this, and then this happened. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not going to do that today. Okay. So, and then that just helps it to move and go. So just try it next time. Instead of being in that space of, oh, pattern showed up, bad, 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 bad. Just be in the space of interesting. Huh. Curiosity. Wonder what that means. Okay. Right. So the card that I have pulled for all of us is you can't make this shit up. I love it. Boundaries. I am clear and honest with others about my expectations. So, what boundary can you create for yourself regarding your peace? Right? Because at the end of the day, I think that's really what we all want. We might frame it differently, we might use different words for it, but we all want to feel at peace with where we're at. And that's not an easy thing to do because, like I said, we've all got messy lives. There's mess everywhere, right? And so it's not always easy to be at peace with it. But where is your non negotiable? Like, guard your peace with your life. This is the boundary that you need. Guard it. So, where are you wanting to find more peace? Where are you feeling like you need more peace in your life? Okay, that's it. All right, Shirley, let's pull a card for you. Thank you for being here. Shirley and I've had a beautiful little conversation today. Thank you, Shirley. I appreciate it so much. Okay, so your card, and notice, guys, I cleared the cards. I'm blessing the card between the reading because that's what we do. Well, surely this one fell out. It started to fall and I grabbed it and then I thought, oh, that's not what we do. It's a jumper. It's for Shirley, right? Oh, I appreciate you so much, Shirley. Thank you so much. Okay, so this one is action. Today, I take action related to the priorities that I have previously put off. So, remember when I was talking earlier about the pattern, and the pattern comes, and what it really wants is it feels like if we've got that to do list, that I'll be happy when blank happens, I'll be happy when I accomplish blank, I'll be happy when this happens. That's our to-do list that helps us feel in control, right? But that's not the action that we want to take. We want to take the action of what can I do in this moment that's going to bring me joy? What can I do in this moment that's going to help me be embodied? What can I do in this moment that's going to help me feel content? And of those, Shirley, the one that really stands out is the embodiment. So the embodiment is what I feel is really what's up for you right now. And so, what action can you take in this moment that'll help you feel embodied, right? It might be just a breath, it might be just hands on your body, a few moments of just conscious grounding and awareness and embodiment. I mean, that this is everything, right? Everything starts. Absolutely. Could it be meditation, exercise stuff, self work? Absolutely. So, whatever you're feeling, it is. Like I said, the embodiment is what I'm feeling. So, that would go right along with the meditation and the exercise. We get exercise has a way of really embodying us. And I really love forms of movement that also incorporate the deep breathing because that's so important for embodiment and for us feeling peace. There's no accident that I have been doing massive amounts of work with block therapy, my frozen fascia, my central nervous system, and my parasympathetic nervous system for a couple years now, but really, really focused for a year and like 13 months. No, 14 months. I've been doing that. And that I'm having these big periods of embodiment and joy and um, contentment even in the midst of some of the hardest things I've ever been through personally. And it's because I'm bringing my nervous system, my parasympathetic nervous system, truly from fight or flight into rest and digest. And that's not easy. And it doesn't feel natural at first. And it's something that you have to get used to because we're not used to it. But when we do that, that's when the real magic happens. So, guys, what do you need help with? Oh, I completely forgot. Let me see what Shirley's. I just started Tai Chi. Oh, I love that. Are you loving it, Shirley? I've always thought that that would be such a beautiful practice to do. So you got to tell me, are you loving it? And is it like how do you find it? Is it easy? Is it challenging? Like I would love to know because I love all of that kind of stuff. And one thing I just want to tell everybody, if you're, on here now, oh, she loves it so much. Oh, I love it. Yay. If you're on now or if you're watching the replay, I'm having a special for about another week, I think is what it's going to be. So I always do a year in preview for myself, which is what that is it's like a reading for the coming year. And I like to split it up into two. So we do 6 months at a time. So I always do it for myself. I start thinking about it about the second week of December, like around the 7th or 8th of December is usually when I start thinking about it. And then I start thinking about it. And then when I get the nudge, sometime in late December, early January, I do my reading and I offer them. And this year I thought about it and I never got the nudge. And it was like waiting, and it's crickets, crickets, crickets. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not going to do a year in preview for myself this year. And so I just kind of, isn't that interesting, right? I tried not to analyze or overanalyze or get too in my brain. And so then all of a sudden, like April 2nd, I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I need to do my year in preview today. And so I did it and it was beautiful. And it was like my favorite one that I've done for myself so far. And so I'm offering those right now for like the next week. I'm going to be offering them. So, and the way that, because you know what, really, this is our new year. Like truly, like the spring equinox is the new year. April 1st is when they used to celebrate New Year's Day. And then it all changed. We don't need to get into all that anyway either. But so it was all changed. That was our natural, that was that was our New Year's, April 1st. So it makes sense that I would feel like, oh, I want to do my thing now. But this is the most beautiful time to do a year in preview because this really is a wonderful time of it's a new year. It just feels really good. And so what we do is we'll do we'll do 6 months. We'll do the reading from now to October. In April, we have a little check-in in July to see what's going on. If we need to, because we always have guidance that comes along. It's really not just about, it's not a prediction reading. It's a map of what's coming for you and how to navigate it. It's beautiful and it's so timely and I love it so much. Brings so much clarity. But so we do the reading in April. We do a little that goes for 6 months. We do the little check-in in July. We do a full reading again in October for October through March, and we do a little check-in in January. So it's just beautiful and it's wonderful and it's on special. So if you guys want to know about that, message me. I would love to do that for you and get you some guidance and really get clarity and a map of how to move forward and how to navigate the energy that's coming for you in the coming months. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Shirley. Shirley says her Tai Chi is a seniors class, so it's easy. I love that. And thank you so much. And have an absolutely beautiful Thursday, or no, I'm a day ahead. A beautiful Wednesday. And let me know what you guys need. I'll see you soon. And I'll be back on Monday And I might have a special guest. We'll see. And for Mondays with Michelle. So see you then. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.